Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Sunday, February 15th, 2026, and I can't believe it. You are here today with David Dawei and myself, Dan. Um, Couple of gents, couple of Boston boys that have been around for a while. Um, Extensive backgrounds for those that don't know us or may need a quick review. For what it's worth, between the two of us, we probably have about 60, 70, 80 years of not only business experience, but over 100 years of life experience. Um, we've been doing a lot of stuff, or we have done a lot of stuff in the past, a lot of videos about, how can I put it, shall we say, a lot of stuff with what's kind of going on these days. We were sort of, in my humble opinion, ahead of the curve, but in such a way that the stuff I feel was almost overlooked in a lot of ways, but may be you know seen or contrived a little bit differently today. But we thought we'd get together today. It's been a while, actually, a while since we've gotten together and done a live stream where we were going to talk about maybe three or four key things that we've kind of always talked about in the past, but we'll hone in on again today. One is, although we never had one, um, maybe the makeup and the building potentially somehow, way, shape, and form online. What better way to do it with today's technologies and mediums to reach as many people as possible? Online ministry. Um, we've definitely touched upon it in the past by going through certain key parts of the Bible, particularly the last book of the Bible, the book of Revelation, which we believe is just simply not even addressed and adhered to enough in today's modern day church. In my opinion, I won't even say they gloss over it. They don't even address it. To me, it's almost as if with most of these modern day churches, particularly some of the big ones about, the Joel Osteens of the world and all that, the feel good stuff. There's nothing wrong with feeling good, but the 66 books of the Bible are there for a reason. God saw that for a reason, right? Particularly the book of Revelation. It's not even addressed in the modern day church. And with what's going on in the world today, I think one can make a lot of inferences today that that it might be sort of congruent with what was sort of prophetized, if you will, right, through that book. That's how amazing it is. The other thing is, we'll probably talk about the financial markets as well a little bit. We always do. It's a love of ours, and we're decent at it. And we sort of kind of intertwine that as well. In a lot of ways, we're able to tie it back, interestingly enough, to the Bible. Because interestingly enough, the most talked about subject, I believe, in the Bible, guys, believe it or not, are finances. Isn't that amazing? All throughout the Bible, finances are referenced. Um, from the talents to everything else, right? And then lastly, the third item we'll probably cover as well, um, sort of tongue in cheek, but actually serious at the end of the day, is when you look at the Bible, I forget exactly where it's referenced. Dave could probably call it up or whatever. He's quicker than I am with that. But uh, God assigns people with gifts, right? We're all gifted in some way, shape, or form, right? And one thing I'd like to sort of stress is that even though we feel differently, particularly in today's America, you know, um, we weren't born, and God didn't allow us to come here and be born just to, you know, He wants us to work. He wants us to be productive and stuff. That's part of what we are, but not fully. But we weren't put here, just to grind it out day in and day out, and just to, pay bills and, pay my Amazon fee and everything else, my high speed internet, and, just grind it out worrying about paying bills and overpriced college and everything else. So there's more to life than just that. And so, if you think about it, we're all here for a reason, right? He knows the beginning. He's the alpha, the omega, and everything in between, right? And believe it or not, guys, we all have a purpose, and we're all gifted in some way, shape, or form. There's 8 specific gifts. Um, some people are highly prophetic. Some people are excellent teachers and communicators. Some people are just naturally great at encouraging others and supporting others. Some people are designated and deemed with certain abilities to be watchmen. The Bible talks about that. Actually, I think maybe the book of Isaiah um, talks about the watchmen, which is what basically Dave and I are. We believe. I believe. And then there's like 3 or 4 others. They don't all come to mind at the moment, but there's like 7 or 8 specific gifts um, that
Yeah, and
you
Isaiah
know.
specifically says, and I don't remember the exact words, but something to the effect, and I think it's Isaiah, where if you are a watchman and you don't make your clarion call, then that blood is on your hands.
Yeah,
But if you do make the clarion call and they do not listen to you, you've done your duty.
yeah, yeah. We should look up that exact passage, but to
Well,
that
I was
effect,
just
yeah.
reading. I was just reading. I try to read. You know, every couple days I try to read a few chapters just to keep me fresh. But I mean, we're specifically. I could name dozens of videos, but our series on the Book of Revelation was definitely a calling that you and I both had. It was we were basically told to do that. We weren't given a choice in doing that. We were told that we had to do that. So we did it. And I know
Yeah,
some people
I
think that
felt it.
sounds insane, but God
Yeah,
talks to us all the time. And unfortunately, most of us have the cell phone or family or whatever. There's so much going
absolutely.
on that people
Distractions.
basically ignore
Excuse
these signals coming to them.
100%. And with the modern day, to your point, Dave, I believe, from the bottom of my heart, believe that with the modern day that we live in and technology and so forth, that the distractions are as fierce and as cumbersome and as dismantling, if you will, as ever. This is the greatest period in history of total distraction, right? I don't see how somebody could argue otherwise. I mean, if you want to get immersed and totally, distracted down the rabbit hole into who knows what,
Well,
um, the
absolutely. I mean,
tools
well, I
and
mean,
technologies there.
if you get on Twitter or Facebook or anything online these days, it definitely is a rabbit hole. You could waste your whole day going
Woo,
down these
baby.
rabbit holes. And I only check like for major news items because now the divide is so heavy now that there's these over the top reports from all these different angles, and I don't even want to. I don't even want to hear it. I'll wait until the answer is known. But like this, what's going on with the Epstein files and Trump and Charlie Kirk and Israel and Gaza and China and Mexico and Venezuela, and I mean it's all noise. Like you said, it's all noise because you and I have no influence over this. And if you still think that voting makes a difference today, I think it's pretty clear after anybody who voted for Trump because all we heard is Trump's going to get in, he's going to save the country. Can we put that to bed yet? Can we put that to bed?
Yeah. So what I'll say to that real quick is this term is so different from his first term. Um, I felt the country at large felt a little more positive and encouraged and stuff. But with this term, I don't know what's going on. I feel like there's been a big change somehow with him, in the background. The term I use all the time is, and you're familiar with this, Dave. I'll put it out there. Uh, you could take it literally or figuratively or both. I feel like he kissed the ring. Now you can interpret that a variety of ways, but I'll put that
Yeah, and
out
we
there. I
know,
just,
and we
just
know, and we know who the Bible tells us as well. We know who runs the earth.
amen to that. We absolutely, well, not that I'm backing it, but you know what I mean. We absolutely know who runs the earth. No doubt
Devil's
about that.
playground, man. Devil's playground. So when you say kiss the
Steal,
ring, and
devour.
yeah, and we've talked about this. You know, if you believe in Jesus Christ, if you believe in God, if you believe that there is retribution for your actions here, if you truly believe that, then you know that there are consequences for your actions and you would not make those choices. He would never kiss that ring. But you know, this year alone, in the last couple months, Trump, I don't even pay attention to it. And I have heard Trump say multiple times that he's not a good person. He's not getting into heaven. He's in essence evil is what he's saying.
That's
He's te-
scary to
he's
hear the
telling
president
us
say that.
he's telling us what he is. Believe him. When people tell you, believe them.
Absolutely. When a bad guy tells you he's going to hurt you and he's looking right at you and he's got a smile on his face and I'm coming your way, etc., or going to rob you, rape, steal, rob, whatever. Um, yeah, I feel like we're a society now, Dave. We just even if we're shown with crayons and the coloring book, we still don't believe it. You know what I mean? It's because we're
Well,
just so out of it. We're just distracted. I got to go watch FSU on Saturday or something. Not that I
well,
don't like sports, but you know what I mean.
yeah. Well, this is why it's very important, in my opinion, that you have to have courage. I mean, first of all, you have to truly believe, because if you don't believe in God or yourself or whatever you know, if it's not going to motivate you to take action, what's the point? And let me tell you from my point of view, is for many years I would be praying and God was saying the same thing to me. And it's like I refused to trust him. I didn't believe it. And let me call up the verse of the Bible that he kept referencing. Give me 2 seconds here, and you tell me.
I want to give you a little more credit than that. I've known you long enough. I wouldn't say
Can
you
you
didn't
see this
believe me.
page?
I'll speak for myself. Yeah, it's up. Fear. Go ahead.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, no, actually, I've
the Lord's
spent a
Prayer.
good port. No, I try. I mean, I try not to let fear. When I get a visceral, and I've talked about this, when I get a visceral reaction like fear or hate or jealousy, or I immediately try to hit the brakes and say, okay, why am I feeling this? Because normally visceral reactions are the worst things to make decisions on, in my opinion. Okay, this is the verse. Do you see that?
Yeah, I see what's up on the screen. Yeah.
Do
Do
not
not worry.
worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the book of Matthew. Okay, chapter 6, verses 25 through 27. It says, "Do not worry. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" Okay. And so I've read the words, and if we read the Bible and we don't try to apply it, it's like reading Agua Sangre, right? It's like reading a fashion magazine. I mean, what is it? Entertainment? I mean, the Bible's been around for a couple thousand years. There's some good knowledge there, and as you say, it's the Word of God. So many of the solutions to the problems that we have are in that book.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is, in layman terms, is it's the blueprint of how to live. He gave us the blueprint, guys, and it kind of like the whatchamacallit for your car. Um, the book there that comes with your car.
Yeah, the instruction
But
manual.
yeah, it's an instruction manual for life. It really is, and it should be taken seriously, in our view. And it's not taken seriously enough, particularly in this country anymore, as evidenced, in my view, by society now at large, morally, ethically, and in terms of our leadership as well. Our leadership, I think, through their actions, whether they know it or not, consciously or subconsciously or both, mock it and see it as a joke. I mean, that's what this country was built on and predicated on and founded on, etc. Founding fathers, what was it? A third of them or something were men of God. They were pastors and stuff like that. I mean, these guys
Well,
took this stuff seriously, and they constructed um, uh, the Constitution and stuff to give us the blueprint, for how to live accordingly, and based ultimately on the tenets that trace back to the Bible. And I would argue that's why this country, for a long time, but not so much anymore, was blessed for a long time, in spite of some of our inadequacies. When you look at things like slavery, etc., right? In spite of that, we were still blessed because overall, the benefits, if you will, of what we were doing right still probably sort of outweighed otherwise, right? And
yeah, I'm not so sure about that because you hear about the layout of Washington D.C. and the different monuments and the money,
hmm,
how it's all tied to um, what are those people called that they're all part of that group? Oh
the
my God,
Masons,
yeah, the Freemasons. And
yeah,
there's a lot of information about and Freemasons. I'm not sure they believe in God. I think they believe in the devil.
yeah, I think they have their own version of the Bible and stuff like that. So
I
that's
think they pray to like one of those demigods from the god of Moog or whatever. Who knows?
now, I don't want to go too far off topic, but it is interesting that you see the pyramid on our dollar bills with the eye over it and stuff like that. I mean, that's like,
Yeah, and think about this: when Luciferians say in God they trust, we think it's our God. It's their God.
the fallen one.
Well, that's their God. Look at what's
Hmm.
coming out. Look,
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten into this because it's so disgusting. But I've heard enough about these Epstein files. This stuff is real, folks. This is real. Okay, and
So,
like that Erica Kirk. I mean, Erica Kirk. It's about as clear as. I mean, do I know for sure? No, but I trust my instincts. Erica Kirk was a honeypot. Okay, and they played the long game with Charlie Kirk. They knew to get him locked in and loaded for a certain agenda. And obviously, when he started uh, doing his own thing, you, we know what happened. Bye bye, Charlie. And that's that could happen to any of us. Any of us. We are all expendable. And it's one reason why and it's one reason why I left the United States because I prayed on this, I thought about this, and I just had to it's like moving to Hollywood, right? And trying to become a star in Hollywood. Do you have what it takes? I mean, because that's really what our politicians are today. As Gerald Celente says, they're Hollywood rejects. They wish they could be in Hollywood, but and they're probably psychopaths too, most of them, because They just have a desire to control people. And
Oh, yeah.
I've always believed that government should be completely limited and that people should be responsible for their own lives and shouldn't be looking to big daddy government. And I knew that I was in such the minority in the country that we have only a certain amount of time on earth. I'm not going to waste my years, however many I have. Not going to waste it. Like, God bless Thomas Massey and Ron and Rand Paul for their conviction to doing what they think is right. But how much of a difference are they going to make in the end of the day? In my opinion, zero.
Talk about
Zero.
outnumbered and outgunned.
Yep. Yep. And
You
it
know,
comes down to let me just, can I just call up something here?
yeah.
And because I just want to read this, and I've sent this to you, but I will share it with the world. Okay. Oh, this is terrible. This is the problem when this is
No worries.
when you have too many windows open on these computers, they tend not to want to respond.
You're maxing
Okay,
it out.
I'm gonna share another screen. I think this is another very powerful verse of the Bible. And since you wanted to talk about ministries, I figured, okay, this is the introduction of my new book. And it's
Yes,
Ecclesiastes.
I did read that out of your book.
And I'm just going to read this very quick, and I think it's very powerful. And you can tell me if you agree. If you don't agree, please let me know. I'm just one guy. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. It goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done.
So your screen has froze. I'll pick up though where you were. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one could say. The eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear its fill of hearing. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. We all know that term. Those of us who've been around long enough. There's nothing new under the sun. Now you know where that comes from. The book of Ecclesiastes, I believe. Is there anything of which one can say, look, this is something new? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. No one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those. Still waiting. Still waiting on Dave.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Can you see me?
Yeah, yeah. Did
How
I
come I
go
can't?
away?
You did.
Yeah, I can
It
see you
locked
and I
up.
can hear you.
It
Yeah,
locked up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, this is the only downside to living in Mexico is the infrastructure down here is terrible. Terrible. Nothing is reliable down here. So, all right, Dan. So, how much of that reading of Ecclesiastes did you hear? Any of it?
Yeah, absolutely. You got through about maybe a third to half, and then I picked up and where you were, and then got bopped out.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you stayed on the screen, so if I ever get disconnected, Dan, you should continue talking because
And
you you
that's what I
because
was
you have
trying
a
that's what I was trying to do.
because you have a stable Wi-Fi connection. I don't.
Exactly. And that's what I did. I picked up where you left off with the Ecclesiastes and then got banged out.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody can go on and reference that, and I can post it as well. But the end of it is basically what it says is and Ecclesiastes talks about this in almost every book. Is it talks about how a lot of life is what he calls chasing after the wind. That's what, and that basically means it's it's a it's all for naught because it's like our great grandparents. How many of us even can name our great grandparents? Some of us are grandparents.
Absolutely. After one or two or three generations, it all fades into the ether. Like the old
Yeah,
Kansas song, "All we are is dust in the wind." Where do you think they get that concept from? I'd
that
be
comes
willing
right
to
from the
bet.
Bible. Yeah.
Yeah, all we are is dust in the wind. Yeah, I mean that's not to say that while we're here, because the Bible does address this as well, that we need to strive for basically, you know, making the place better um, after we leave versus before we came, so to speak. I mean
So
that's ideal.
let's talk about the ministry then. What was your idea for a ministry? Because I
Yeah, it's
mean
a
the
great.
bottom line is we've talked about a
Yeah,
lot about how churches really are failing people. They're not preparing people for, what's coming or what they should be preparing for.
amen. No doubt about it. The modern day church, at least in America, I can't speak for anywhere else, is as a whole failing, completely failing. Um, the pulpit used to be a place where the priest, whatever, the pastor, you know, the God man, whatever, would speak plainly and tell you how it is, right? Both positive and otherwise, as it relates to particularly the Word of God. And the preachers and the pastors don't do that anymore. They don't.
Well, it's like
And
that book of Matthew I called up, Dan, is we're
yeah,
worried. We spend most of our worry on our problems here and now. Oh, I'm going to get a divorce, or JoJo is going to break up with me, or I'm going to get fired at my job, or my kid is going to turn into a drug addict. These are problems that are not going to mean anything 100 years from now.
well, true. Yeah,
but
no,
your
there's truth to that.
soul but your soul will still be a soul somewhere.
Yeah, if you believe that, yeah. And so, in a nutshell, the way I see it anyway, the modern day church is not addressing, no longer is addressing what needs to be addressed. And like you go to your average church today, look, I'm an amateur musician. I love music, okay, but I mean, you got a full ensemble of, a massive rock drum kit up there, big bass guitar, lead guitarist, keyboards, right? I mean, and they're rocking out, right? Like you're entertaining the mass every week. There's a mini concert. Um, that's not what it's supposed to be about. I'm not saying you shouldn't be singing some hymns and stuff like that and praising the Lord, absolutely. But the other end of it, in
Yeah,
my
so they've
view, is
turned it into they've turned it into they've turned it into entertainment to get people in the seats.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to church to see Jeff Beck shredded every week or see Neil Peart or Buddy Rich on the drum kit as much as I love that stuff. That's not what I'm going to church for. Right. And it just is another distraction, in my view, that has seeped its way into the church. And then on top of that, the pastors, and I get it that they're under pressure. I get it, but they're not addressing what needs to be addressed. And some are, but they're supposed to be tackling um, sin and stuff head on. And if it means sometimes scaring you or putting a little fear in you, hey, you know, all throughout the Bible, God says certain things. I mean, go to Deuteronomy, Leviticus. I mean, it doesn't get any more hardcore than that. You know, God has wrath, guys, and he has a temper too. Why do you think we have a temper? He gave us emotion for a reason. He gave us anger, believe it or not, if it's used right and channeled right for a reason. He expects good men to step forward. He expects good men to get angry when there's injustice. So,
All right. Well,
you know,
let me interject something there then on that. Okay, because there's a lot of people who do not agree with that because they think that
oh, I know that.
judgment and that they think judgment is God's and not for us to. Oh my! I'm not even going to try to
Well,
open
God
this.
says
I'm just going to
basically
read
leave
this.
judgment
Okay.
and revenge to me, but he also
No,
expects us to
no,
do the right
no,
thing.
no. Yep. Let me read this. It's from
Mhm.
Ecclesiastes. I read this yesterday. I posted this on Twitter actually.
Okay.
Ecclesiastes 8, verse
Hmm.
11. Or no, verse 11. When the sentence for a crime is not speedily executed, the hearts of men become fully set on doing evil. Okay?
If
So
justice is not
none of
swift,
us, this is, and this is why we should be rising up and overthrowing this government, okay, and resetting the Constitution because evil is in complete control. Evil is running everything, and and
so
we're happy to eat our McDonald's hamburger and watch Dancing with the Stars of the NFL, and we're like, hey, I'm not getting involved. Nothing I'm going to do about it. It'll be too
so
painful to bring about that
yeah, I mean,
change.
look, I get that, and that's a normal human emotion, and we're all subject to that. So, in that regard, I'm sympathetic to it, but in another regard, I'm not. So, to go back to what you brought up earlier, Dave, about the Epstein files, assuming that all that information is correct, let's just humor me for a minute. Let's say it is accurate and it's correct. Let's say these guys were performing certain rituals, cannibalism, you know, what I heard anyway. Haven't read this stuff, but what I heard, eating the parts of babies and, having sex with children, so on and so forth, right? It doesn't get more vile and ugly than that, guys, and sinful than that,
Or
right? I mean,
disemboweling them
really.
in eating baby parts with pieces of
Yeah.
chicken.
So if that's not diabolical, I don't know what is. Okay. So where am I going with this? Assuming all this stuff is, and we have to determine it through a court of law. Of course, you got to bring up the people first. We're not willing to do that because what's her face said last week that if we bring up all these people, the whole system will collapse. Well,
Yeah,
do we as the American people,
yeah, she's an
in
embarrassment.
lieu,
You're talking Pam
yeah,
Bondi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
assuming there is a
she's
God.
an
Just
embarrassment.
humor me again, because I'm an idiot. I'm stupid that way. But assuming there is a God and there is the word of God, um, that exists, and assuming that everything that's surmised in the Epstein files is real, where does that leave us as a people and a society? You got two options, or maybe three. One, you ignore it, put your head in the sand, like Dave said, pretend it's not there and ain't happening. Two, you do something about it. And what's the third option? You say, I can't. I realize that it could have happened, probably happened, but I can't do anything about it. So then you're screwed there because you're complicit. And when we all die, right? And I know it's a big joke to a lot of people in this country, but humor me. Assuming there is a God, you're going to meet your Creator, and He's going to say one or two things to you. Basically, I've got a place for you, or I never knew you. And if He says I never knew you, you're screwed. In plain colloquial street terms, you're screwed, because God doesn't mess around. Okay, He's left, He's right, He's yin, He's yang, He's on, He's off. You know what I mean? Like, there's no in between with Him. He tells you that in Revelation. What was it, Laodicea or Philadelphia, the church? You could look that up. It was lukewarm. I spit you out of my mouth, right? He doesn't go for the lukewarm stuff. You're either with Him or against Him. He tells you
Yeah,
that point blank.
yeah. You can't
Don't get
have
mad at
you
me.
can't have a foot on both sides of the fence.
Don't get mad at Dave and Dan. We're just the messengers. We're just the watchmen. That's God's word. Take it up with Him if you don't like it. And He also tells you in Revelation, don't delete, don't modify. What was the other thing? Don't change my word, right? Don't add
Mhm.
to it. Don't delete. Don't modify it. Woe to those that do that, He basically says. He's saying in
Which
nice
which
language,
which
you
which
mess with
everybody's
my
great
word,
at.
you change it in any way, shape, or form, you're screwed. I'm
Yeah.
coming at, I'm coming for you in some way, shape, or form. Oh, well, God's like that. Hey, look, if you were the creator and you created man in your image, right? And you had a bunch of disrespectful punks, to put it in layman terms, that constantly, tell you to shove it and everything else and live ethically and morally, like Sodom and Gomorrah. How long do you think He's going to put up with that? He'll give you 1,000 chances because He loves you. But sooner or later, you're going to be a reprobate, and you're going to own up to that. Plain and simple. It's no joke. Looks like we lost Dave again. So much for the infrastructure. Let's see if we can get him back for a moment.
Okay.
He's back. Thank goodness.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I just finished off my little diatribe before you bonged out.
No. I could hear you because I've got my other computer going.
Oh,
So
okay.
yep. So I just grabbed my coffee.
Oh, no worries, dude.
Yeah.
So
No.
I forgot where I diatribe because you banged out and I got distracted. I'm sorry. But yeah, I never knew you, all that. And that it's not a
Well,
joke.
listen. I
And
mean,
we treat
it's
it as if it's a joke now in this country.
well. I bring that up, but the bottom line is what is and maybe I should be like the apostles, right? Who willingly went off to their deaths. Well, all of the apostles, except for I think John, were martyred, and so
Pretty badly.
um, what?
And pretty badly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not good ways to go, and um, maybe we should be camping in Washington D.C. and
Well,
and basically sacrificing ourselves and our lives for what
so,
I've thought about that, but I I don't think that it would do anything to have a positive impact.
well, well, look at it this way. I mean, all the apostles basically said that, and it makes sense because there's enough evidence both within the Bible and otherwise. If you do the research, guys, don't take my word for it. That the Son of God, Jesus, was here for 32, 33 years. And he lived with these 12 guys for like 2.5 years, day in and day out, 2.5, 3 years. So these guys were with him day and night, eating, sleeping together, whatever, going to different places together, watching miracles, etc. So, when it came down to it, these guys were all willing to die for him. They weren't afraid at all. Think about it. If you were with the Creator for 2.5 years, or the Son of God, and you saw and witnessed and felt this stuff day in and day out for 2.5 years, firsthand, not third hand, not seventh hand, not 72nd hand, but through your own senses every day, you wouldn't be afraid of anything.
Well, and
what would you be afraid of? You can only kill the flesh once. Granted, I don't propose to be John Wayne and the bravest guy in the world. Far from it. And I certainly don't want to be chewed up by a bull shark or something either, or ripped to pieces by a bear. I prefer not to go that way. But the point is, these guys were not afraid to die after that. Granted, they died gruesome deaths. Whew, really gruesome.
So you see something on the news tonight, Dan, that some guy was protesting in Washington, D.C., and he was dragged off and never heard of again. Think that's going to have any impact on your life?
It's scary. Yeah. I'm a human being like the next guy. Of course I would be afraid. Absolutely.
No, you didn't
It's
answer my question.
Thing, man.
You didn't answer my question.
What's the question? Which is what? Sorry. What?
On the news tonight, they report that a guy was protesting in Washington, D.C., demanding change, demanding accountability, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And they came and they dragged his ass off, forget his civil rights, and he's gone. Never heard from again.
It's happening.
How's it? You think you're going to remember him? Do you remember that kid who put himself on fire a couple of years ago?
Yeah, the Air Force kid, was it? Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Did that make any difference?
No. I know it's sad. Yeah. I mean, individual things like that, or the Army guy just 3 months ago. Remember the Ranger who hung up his uniform with his ribbons and stuff and burned it outside? Remember that? Just 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Army Ranger. No. And then another guy, a Navy SEAL, although he seemed like he was having some problems. 20 years Navy SEAL, all his accommodations and ribbons and his operations around the world in a nice glass case. He brought it outside, smashed it, and started torching them. Right? Because I guess, and the crux of his diatribe or speech was, I did all this for nothing. I mean, it accomplished nothing, and I was supporting.
Well, that's why 20 guys a day were killing themselves, because I think a lot of them realized that they thought they were on the side of good, and they were actually really fighting for the evil empire.
The last stat I heard was something like 22 veterans a day, nixed themselves, which is truly, truly sad. Truly sad. Yeah, very sad. And we're Rome. We're Rome version. We are absolutely, in my view, Rome version 2.
That's why the wars are fought by the young, buddy.
We're Rome 2.0, without a doubt. And we've stretched the empire too far. We got over 900 bases around the world. We print money like it's going out of style. That's why we decoupled it in 1971 when Dickie Nixon, on I believe August 15th, did a 10-minute speech. Probably cut in between the Carol Burnett show and the Flip Wilson show, whatever. I was like 5 at the time. And the average American that was watching Archie Bunker then or whatever, having his gin and tonic, because that's what they did in the 70s, eating, Fritos, didn't understand that speech, didn't understand what Dick
Well,
Nixon was doing. I'm
especially
protecting us from the speculators.
Well, especially since gold had been illegal since 1932.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I
mean, it's a
who would
joke.
understand it?
Yeah, so the American people at the time, they dropped the ball. I don't want to be critical, but yeah, in their defense, they just didn't understand what Dickie Nixon was telling them at the time. I'm decoupling gold from the dollar, meaning it's no longer going to back the dollar. And when you do that, when you decouple it, because there's only so much physical gold in the world above ground at the time, as well as there's only so much they could mine based on resources, technology at the time, etc. Once you decouple that, well, now it's just paper. I can print as much of it as I want. That's my war chest. That's my war fund, because you need money to build the machine. And that's what that was for. 10 years after, it was about 11 years after Ike warned us in 1960 about the complex. And we never took it to heart. We've been warned enough
it's kind of like you
over
see
the last 50 years, right? We just don't listen. Kennedy was killed, on and on and on.
No, people don't believe it because if you don't see an immediate impact, you forget about it and you're gone. But it's like a bomb, a nuclear bomb. Or you remember that video of that ship that exploded, the nitrogen that exploded in Beirut and blew up the whole harbor, and you saw the shock wave coming. And it's the same thing with nuclear bomb. The after effects of what Nixon announced that night are only now starting to hit the public where they
50 plus
understand
years
there's a
later.
problem.
100%, bro. 100%, bro. Spot on. And I was going to say, now this kind of dovetails into, the financial and macro markets arena and stuff, in a lot of ways, which sort of in turn dovetails, we go from the ministry into the financial stuff, the macro stuff, because the Bible addresses all that, and then into the Watchman stuff. To me, it's kind of like a continuous circle and sphere of influence, right? And where was I going with that? I had an idea on that. About the markets. Yeah, in the war chest, we already talked about that when they decoupled it, and it was for those reasons. But we're only feeling that 50 years later. To your point, Dave, we didn't feel the decoupling. Interest rates got crazy in the 80s. I get it. Gold, quadrupled in the 70s. I get it. And the Hunt brothers were in there with the silver, but to your point, it's taken 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. And oh, by the way, where am I going with this? To add to that, I remember, we've been blessed for a long time. I believe World War II, although, not alternative history, but history we weren't taught in school. I mean, we probably were more responsible for that in some ways, barring the Nazis, right? They were definitely off the hook. That was pure evil, had to be stopped. So I think in a way we were sort of kind of, you could argue, blessed for that. But since then, it's been like this, a slow decline over time. And I feel like our blessings are just going like this because we continue to do not the right thing. And
I just want to talk about Germany. I'm not condoning, Germany was almost 100 years ago at this point. Okay. So
80 years.
So think of all the history that hasn't been reported on what really happened. Okay. And what we do know is we know there was a World War I, which was definitely instigated by the central banks. Okay, we know that. And then the IRS and the Federal Reserve just happened to be created right before that war.
In NATO.
Okay. Okay. And what we know that World War One led to World War Two, because basically we put the Germans in such a bad position economically. There was no way they were ever going to dig out of that.
Yeah.
And
So
whether
they
you,
lashed out.
whether you like it or not, okay, and it happens. You can look at our country today. Every country looks for a scapegoat for their problems. Okay,
Yeah.
we look at immigrants. We look at immigrants for our problems. I think today, maybe in some ways, we looked at the Muslims. Right, we use them as a scapegoat. We use the Russians. We use the Chinese as our scapegoats, our boogeymen, just like the Germans used the Jews or the Gypsies or whoever the hell they were blaming for the downfall of their society. And so don't think that we're better than those people, that it couldn't happen here.
Yeah. But where I was also going with this is we've enjoyed the last 60, 70, 80 years because of Bretton Woods, etc. Pardon me, world reserve currency, etc. We've been spoiled, less slashed, spoiled for the past 80 plus years, I would argue. And that's coming to, unfortunately, I hope I'm dead wrong, but I don't think so. Dave and I were talking about this 5 years ago, probably 10 years ago, about the BRICS and everything. And at that time, we were completely ignored and laughed at. But now it's starting to come to roost. We were probably too far ahead of the time. But when we lose the world reserve currency, guys, which we're going to at this rate, I don't know exactly when, Americans, a lot of them are still sleepwalking. I think a certain portion of the population starting to wake up. Dave, I sent you a video a week ago or so. This young gal doing some videos, particularly with some of the millennials and the Gen Zs. They're starting to wake up a little bit. But I think the bulk of the American populace is still sleeping, particularly the boomers and a lot of our generation. But they ain't going to be sleeping when the world reserve currency goes away. You think inflation and cost of living and working side hustles now, 5 of them to pay your bills, is rough right now, guys. You ain't seen nothing yet. Okay. You ain't seen nothing yet. And if the BRICS continues to propel and really take off like it's going to, like I think it's going to, because they've got the bulk of the world population and resources, by the way. We're in for a world of hurt. And so what happens when we're the big bear? We've seen this in history time and time again. Although, to Dave's point, we think that we're excluded somehow from history, but we're not. We're no different. So what happens when the animal's wounded? That's how I see us. We're a wounded animal, and we're getting more wounded and weaker over time. But what does that animal do when it's weak and wounded and in the corner? It lashes out at that point at everything. And I feel like that's what we're doing in a way. We're freaking lashing out at everything.
Not
We're
only
going to take
that,
Greenland next week.
Well, you got to look at our
what the hell is going on here? The Danish are freaked out. They got their special forces in Greenland ready to rock and roll if American troops go in there. I mean, what are we doing?
You got to look at the society.
We got 10 cities in California and people defecating in the street, and we're worried about taking Greenland over?
Yeah. Because
hello, wake up. Like Obama said 10 years ago, I'll give him credit for this. Put the friggin' Game Boy down for 5 minutes, all right? And have a cup of Java or something to wake up. Put the NFL on hold for a couple of minutes, by the way. Not to mention the stupid halftime thing. Sorry, but, I mean, really?
I didn't see it, so I can't comment.
I don't want to go there. I'm just making a point. You can miss an NFL game here and there. Like, see, here's the other thing, great distraction I see all the time, and I hear it in work all the time too. Don't talk politics. Don't talk religion or faith, right? Well, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, politics affects everybody in terms of the policies that are instituted and in terms of the so-called leaders that are put in place. They don't want you talking about it or thinking about it, right? Because they don't want you focusing on what's real and what's truly important. Instead, they just want you to zone out watch Dancing with the Stars, watch your latest Netflix bullshit, watch the latest game of 20-year-olds playing sports, even though you're 60 with a punch gut and haven't exercised in seventh grade. That's what they want. And that's what the bulk
Well, I
of
noticed,
us do.
yeah,
And that's why we're in the position we're in my view.
yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry. You were going to say something. Sorry.
No, it comes back to that meaningless in the wind. In my opinion, we're on the Titanic. There's nothing we can do to save the ship going down.
You say that. Yeah.
Okay. And if you're not getting on a lifeboat and getting out of the way, getting off that boat, then you could do everything right and you're still going to get dragged down. And the United States is not going to go quietly into the night. Guaranteed.
No.
Not like the Soviet Union did. They're not going that way. Israel either. Israel, the United States, they will let the missiles fly. They will bring everybody down with them. And that's the only problem is wrong. Where do you go to escape that? Well, World War I and World War II, I'd say South America was probably one of the safest places to be. And unless you're in the United States, the United States, unless you were fighting, if you're a woman in the United States in World War I and World War II, or a child, it was safe. But unless you were Japanese or German.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch, baby.
Yeah, it's need to be careful on what you open up. Well, there's a lot of I'll just reference this again. A priest down here, I told him my prayer routine, and there's a lot to be said for rebuking evil, just not allowing evil into your life, because all it needs is a crack to get in, and before you know it, some pretty bad things can happen.
Yeah, amen to that. That's the truth, man. We all have to fight it. We're all subject to it. We're all human beings. We're all fleshly creatures. Dave and I are definitely no different, especially Dave.
What?
Sorry, I had to throw that jab. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, absolutely. We're all subject. Say what? What'd you say?
I was thinking about something, and I'm sorry I wasn't listening to your comment.
I'm sorry, I get juvenile very easy. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to show everybody? Do you want to show everybody the skirt you're wearing tonight?
Yeah, no, I wear a big kilt. So even though I'm Italian, I wear a kilt. It's true.
Okay. Yeah, well, as far as the ministry, I can tell you I'll just share my internal struggles. There's a lot of internal struggles that I have. And I think about the fact that I'm closer to my death than my birth at this point.
100%.
And I read the Bible. I try to take that to heart and apply that to my life on how to be a better person, how to basically emulate Jesus Christ as best as I can. But
absolutely.
But I get dragged into the trap because, number one, we need money to survive, and number two, I have no power, and I don't think that I could make a difference in this world, and that's why I don't go off and do these things.
That's where I disagree, my friend. We can make a difference, I believe, in our own way, no matter how small. One of the things in which one of the ways in which we can make a difference is like what we've been alluding to. And what I wanted to talk to you about this evening is, maybe setting up in some way, shape, or form, even if it starts out crude, an online ministry, right? Where we're going through the Bible, maybe once a week. Maybe we're choosing a couple of passages to talk about, or maybe we pick up from what we did in the past, where we read the book of Revelation, for example, in full. Maybe a goal might be to read the entire Bible in full over a series of
Yeah,
videos
yeah.
over
Well,
time.
I read it.
Maybe
Well, I
starting,
read.
keep
Yeah,
it basic, starting with the book of Genesis all the way through. Or
or
maybe we start with the four
start with the
gospels, whatever.
start with the New Testament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the New Testament would be the most appropriate, right? Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John, right?
Well, let me ask you a question. Is it evil to have an opinion that we should be taking these Epstein people and putting them in a guillotine?
Um, um, I would ultimately say no. However, my only adjunct to that or caveat would be, I mean, look, they got to be, brought to trial from a justice standpoint and
Yes,
um,
Dan, of
prove,
course. I'm talking about
of
punishment
course, yeah.
because I think that's what's wrong with the world right now is like I think one of the biggest jokes in the United States right now is when they say the United States is a country of rule of law.
Well, they
That
used
gets
to be.
me that gets me rolling. Well, I'm not sure it ever was, Dan. If you were big and powerful, you
Well,
were always treated differently.
well, to an extent, I agree, but I think it's as worse as ever now. It's so instead
Well,
of,
no, it's since 9/11, it's been blatantly in your face. They like, we're going to steal right in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. We will kill you.
right,
We will rape
there
you.
was a
We will
time,
pillage
right?
you.
Yeah, exactly, amigo. There was a time when it was more objective, even if it was only 51% to 49%. Now it's clearly, in my view, more subjective. The law is applied more subjectively. It's clearly 51% or easily greater, where it's far more subjective. Not to the common man, but to anybody with any kind of wealth and power and elite. Clearly, I mean, in the Epstein files, to me, show that. I mean, if this was John Smith's Gilligan's Island, with a bunch of regular guys hanging out drinking Coors over the weekend, doing this stuff. I mean, they already would have been, tarred and feathered, lock, stock, and barrel, whatever. The
Well,
trial would have already been over by now.
well, you talk about
But
how World War
instead,
II is.
instead we get the children's version, which pisses me off. Redaction. Here's a whole page example of what happened. Oh, but the whole thing's blacked out. I redacted the entire document. You gave me a document that's entirely blacked out. I mean,
Well,
what a joke.
actually, there was a page. No, there was a page where they actually,
Hello.
the FBI or Pam Bondi, she posted all the victims' names and she blotted out the guys who were accused of
Yeah.
hurting these people.
So what does
It's
that do?
like ass backwards.
So what did we
Well,
accomplish with
well,
that
you
move?
mentioned how World War II was this great fight against evil. Well, we know through what was it, Operation Paperclip, was it, where the Germans basically came over and started running NASA and our intelligence agencies. I mean, after World War
Well,
II,
we
the
hired them
CIA.
to finish and complete the bomb and stuff, didn't we?
Well, my point is that look at what it's led to. I mean, JFK assassination, MLK, RFK, and
Oh yeah.
Malcolm X. I mean, they they it's just
Four
so blatant
presidents.
in our face. The Vietnam
Four
War,
presidents.
and then the Vietnam War, and then just 20 years later, we're in Afghanistan, like a
Yeah.
generation.
Dude, we're Rome part two. Rome was in constant wars, like for their entire reign, practically. Same with us. I mean, constant warfare. We go from one war to the next, one friggin' war to the next. As soon as we finish 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq, they already had probably six other places teed up
Well, this
five,
is
10 years
why,
ago.
yeah. Well, this is why
It's a
Plato
joke.
he wrote the I forget the name of the book, but I call it the Five Regimes. That's not the name of it, but
Right.
basically it talks about the forms of government, and he is already in his book. He says we morph in from democracy or a republic into a tyranny because what happens is we can see it right now where people just get so frustrated, and either there's a revolution or there's a despot who comes in and starts killing off people to appease. It becomes so bad that people give up their personal freedoms for accountability and responsibility. Even
And
though
to be taken care of.
Yeah, it's like the pendulum. It swings and then it swings too far the other way.
Yeah. I mean, look what happened in Rome. How many freaking holidays did they have at one point? 200 or something during the year, and going to the Coliseum every other day and working a day and a half during the week, and sucking off the state, and meanwhile still trying to expand the empire. And you even saw their coinage, is that the right word? Over time, go from pure silver to less pure silver, more impurities, more nickel, more copper, whatever, more iron in there.
Clip coins. Yep.
Which is what's happening to us. Analogistically, if that's a word, I like to use polysyllabic words. Makes me sound intelligent. But I mean, you see it here with our currency getting watered down. And the average person feels it every day. It takes more and more dollars to buy the same products and services. I have this debate with my baby boomer mother all the time. That I love her, but it's like she doesn't get it. She just looks at things like that generation as a whole, our society, I should say, as a whole. Although I think the younger people are waking up, that just look at the nominal dollar. The nominal dollar is what, 100 cents on the dollar, but it actually buys today what?
What's
2 cents what it bought in 1913? Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, well, what's the point of them being awake at this point? It's too late. Unless that awareness breeds action.
That's a good point.
It's like seeing a bullet coming right towards your head. Unless you can get out of the way.
You're 100% right. At the end of the day, and the Bible addresses this as well, right? I mean, God rewards those that take action. The parable of the talents was a great example. What was it? 3 men got talents. One got 10, one got 5, one got 1 or something, or 2. One got 5, one got 2 and 1 or something like that. But the guy that got the least, that got the 1 talent, what did he do? Through fear, he buried it in the ground. The guy that had 2 was able to multiply it. The guy that had 5 multiplied it even further. And God said, or Jesus said, basically, in layman terms, patted them on the head and said, good job. You managed this the way I expected you to. You managed it properly and you grew it. And that's what God's about, growth and abundance. And then to the guy that took the talent in fear and buried it in the ground, he was scolded to the point where God took the talent from him, took it away from him.
Yeah, I don't remember it being God. I remember it being like the owner was going away, and you could apply that to God.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Probably. I probably screwed that up. But the point is that's
I never agreed with that
theme and concept.
Well, I never agreed with that parable, Dan, because I could use that in reference to you right now. I mean, as far as and other people where they're allowing fear to put their money in certain investments or non-investments, and they're not getting a return on that investment, which goes to what burying your money in the ground is in essence, I don't know. Fear is the worst thing you can use to make a decision in your life. It really is.
Well, because I guess the flip side is greed. You want to be somewhere in the middle, I guess.
Well, greed also is, but greed can be a motivator at certain times, just like love can. But fear, we tend to avoid the truth when we use fear.
Yeah, I agree. Bury your head in the sand.
Yeah, I think right now, I can't see. That's where I started this discussion tonight by reading that section on Matthew. I finally got to the point where when COVID came, and I remember I came to Mexico and they weren't going to let me into Mexico. And I said, okay, it's time to get my residency here so that they no longer can keep me out. If I come down with just a U.S. passport, the Mexicans don't have to let me in. Okay. They can say, no, sorry, we're not going to recognize, or they may, instead of 90 days, they may give you a week, which I've seen happen. So I got my permanent residency, which now I have all the rights of a Mexican, except I can't vote. And I did that because I wanted to have a plan B, because whether I'm alive or not when the United States actually hits the wall, who knows? Time will tell. But in my mind, it's pretty apparent that the new Star Wars movies that had the senator turn into the emperor and they had the republic turn into the evil empire, right? That's basically was the United States in that movie. And it's clear as day to me that our country is not on the right side on a lot of things today. Clearly not. And I just I just decided to vote with my feet. I voted with my feet.
Well, to your point, more and more Americans are doing that. Thousands are leaving by the day. A lot of Americans are leaving, right, wrong, or indifferent. And even a certain amount, I've heard of cases where some of them are, where they can forfeiting, that's the right term, their citizenship, some of them. That's how strongly they feel.
Well, that's a very drastic action, because the United States government is punitive when you do that. Well, look at Roger Ver. You know who Roger Ver is?
I've heard of him. Go ahead.
He was one of the first guys involved in Bitcoin. He was called Bitcoin Jesus. Okay? Very long story short, when he was a young kid, he got involved in selling fireworks, I believe, and the government ended up coming down on him and through all these, they put him in federal prison. So he did 5 or 7 years in federal prison, I think. And when he got out, he was like, I can't stay here because they're going to come after me. So I think he moved to Japan. And I don't know if he became a citizen. He became a citizen of like one of these Caribbean countries, I think. But I think he moved to Japan. And he invested in Bitcoin like in 2011, 2012. And he became a multi-millionaire. And when Bitcoin split off with Bitcoin Cash, he actually went with the Bitcoin Cash. I don't know why. But long story short, he had renounced his citizenship, Dan, 15 years ago. He paid the penalty tax that they wanted. He paid the fines to give up his citizenship, because I think the U.S. government wants you to pay 50% or 25% of your net wealth now when you give up your citizenship. That's why most people don't do it now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really, they do it because they don't want to lose it. So long story short, this guy was in Spain. Don't go to Spain, folks, because Roger Ver and then the guy from the computer guy who was killed there.
McAfee.
McAfee. Yeah. McAfee. They arrested him.
I used to procure his software by the hundreds of thousands.
Let me finish the story.
Whatever.
So McAfee was arrested and died in jail. So Roger Ver was arrested by the Spanish, and they were going to basically send him back to the United States for, what do you think they were going to arrest him for, Dan? tax evasion when he wasn't even a U.S. citizen.
How does that work? He's not a citizen.
So,
oh my God.
He was in jail like 9 months. They had him in a hole. He was going to end up like McAfee. He was going to end up like McAfee. He was going to be dead. He was going to be killed. And so he ended up, I think he came to a settlement. But here you go. This guy followed the letter of the law, and he was still persecuted.
Did he become a citizen of another country? You said, yeah, Caribbean.
Yes.
Yeah. So how could they get away with that? He wasn't a U.S. citizen at that point, and he's a citizen of another country.
Well,
hands off.
Who's standing up to the United States today? Look at what happened to Julian Assange. Was that okay?
Yeah. Wow.
Listen, if you go down the rabbit hole with Epstein and Assange as far as how the intelligence agencies both were involved in the manipulation of those two guys, it's our country is so disgusting. It's evil. It's truly evil. And listen, we don't even have to get into Gaza. I mean, what's happening in Gaza? Does anybody think that's not evil? Even if you're Jewish, you don't think that's evil? Listen, if I don't know. I think there's things you can't be doing.
Yeah, things you'll pay for. But anyway, that was the idea with the ministry, maybe starting with the Gospels, reading the book starting with Matthew all the way through, like what we did with Revelation, then one book to the next, right? 4 Gospels, and then go from there, I guess. That was the thought. And then at the same time, intertwining the financial / watchman aspect of it as well, what we see and how we relate it to not just a text, but how it even relates to our lives and the world of what's happening, as we speak, and where we think it's going, etc.
If you want to take the lead, Dan, we can definitely do it. But my attitude now is I don't even know what the exact number is, but I think if I had to guess, I think the David Dawei YouTube channel has like 1,500 videos now. Imagine that.
Wow.
And videos where you and I talk and we get into these discussions, I'll bet you there's probably a couple hundred.
Probably. Yeah.
And whether we reached anybody or not, but I know we were talking about silver and gold 15 years ago. Like you told, we were talking about the BRICS and the Federal Reserve and a lot of those discussions.
7, 8, 10 years ago, yeah. Yep. Which is now commonplace on YouTube, but not 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting, what happens in the next couple of years with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because before the banks and Wall Street got involved in Bitcoin, I was a big fan of it. But once Wall Street, like 3 years ago, when Wall Street started doing all these ETFs, that's when I was like, I'm out, man. I'll wait till the point, because it got taken over. When the banks get their tentacles into you, it's over, man. It's over. And
yeah, I don't think I can really debate that. Yeah. I mean, unless somehow the banks are changed.
And being a physical item, gold and silver, it's a blessing and a curse. It really is, because they don't, like, you can see what's happening with the dealers, how the dealers won't even want to buy you. So I called up just for shits and giggles. I wasn't seriously looking, but it's information. I called up the local coin dealer in New Hampshire, and I said, hey, how much at that time, the price of silver, I think, was $120. And he's like, I'm buying silver for $80 or $85, depending on what it is. So it's like $40 off for physical silver, Whereas if you bought the ETF or the paper silver, you weren't getting a discount off your money. And it's one way they try to control things. Because you can argue that silver and gold is also, controlled as well.
100% through the paper markets, no doubt. But that's starting to wane slowly but surely. And the Chinese, the Indians, etc., and the rest of the world are seeing to that. They're cogently aware of how the West manipulates commodities, particularly gold and silver. But the last year or so, look at gold, 5,000 plus an ounce. I never thought I'd see gold at 5,000 this quick.
Well,
it was only what 2, 3, 4 years. It was only what 2, 3 years ago. Gold was at what 2,000, $2,500, $5,000
or lower.
in
Lower. I think 2023 it was like $1,500.
Yeah, there you go. And what the hell was silver then?
It got back
25?
down to like no, it was in the teens again.
18.
I'm looking
Yeah.
it up right now.
Yeah.
But the premiums after COVID, the premiums.
But it's only been this last 6 months that gold and silver have done what they've done. The last 3, 4, 5 months, because the point is that the banks, their tight grip has been shaken on this stuff. They're still trying to short the hell out of it, I guess, right? To keep it down. But it was only last month? It was only last month that silver made the United States strategic metals list, right? Trump put it on there, right? Wasn't it only a month ago?
Yeah, let's not get into that because that's a distraction in itself.
That's where I'll stop.
Okay,
My
gold.
point is silver's important. We'll leave it at that. Very important.
Yeah. My computer's not cooperating.
That's okay. We're basically done. We've been going an hour and a half now. But anyway, that's the concept for the ministry / financial / macro / watchman stuff as we see it.
Yeah, well, it's it'll be very interesting. Yeah, silver and gold. It's open in Asia right now. Silver and gold are pretty much flat doing tonight. Yeah, what the hell is going on with this computer? Okay. Yeah, Bitcoin was over 70. It's back under 60. It's 68.4.
Oh wow.
68.4.
Well, they're doing all they can, aren't they, to continue to smash it down?
No, I think Soloway is going to be right on this. I think it will float back up to around 80 and then take a swan song down to. I think it's going. Well, a few months ago, I said XRP was going back to 150.
Did you say that? Wow, good call.
Yeah, I warned you.
You
a dozen times. I was telling you.
Yeah, but long term. Yeah, but long term XRP is going double and triple digits. It has to, based on its use case.
Maybe.
And they've got all the rails in place at this point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think most of the cryptos are going to be a head fake. I think this is my personal opinion. I look at cryptocurrency as a speculation, and that's it. That's all I look at it. I look at it as once I get 25, 50, 100% returns, whatever my goal is, I'm out. You do not, in my opinion, it's a mistake to hodl. The mistake, and I tried to tell you to sell it, because if you had sold the XRP when it was $3, you could have bought back in when it was 50 cents. And that That is how the people, whatever you're buying or selling, if you can, you always have to take money off the table, people. Always take money off the table. Sell when it's high, buy when it's low. If you can do that,
Yeah.
even gold, even silver, even Bitcoin,
Yeah,
when it
I
hits a
agree.
certain number, because otherwise you're going to end up with nothing unless you're selling covered calls on it. You're going to end up zero. I mean, Dan, there's no benefit for you to take a round trip, to buy in at $1, watch it go to 3, and now it have it come back to $1. You made nothing, zero. And you can say, yeah, but on the long term, who cares? The goal of investing is to make money now or in a certain amount of time. And sticking your head in the sand and saying, well, I'm guaranteed it's going to have a return on. No, you can't. You can't say that.
No, of course not.
So the people who took money off the table with silver at 120, they did the right thing. Gold at $5,000, should be
I
taking
agree.
money off the table, folks. And I'm not saying everything. There's a obviously,
I
if
agree.
there's physical, there,
I agree.
when you have investments, you have to basically categorize not all your investments are speculations.
Mm.
Not all your investments are long-term holds. And that's
Agreed.
where you have to really have to understand the people who just stick their money in an ETF fund and they've been rewarded for the last 10 years, that's about to change. At some point, that's going to
Well,
change.
if it's a lot of domestic stuff, you could argue that, especially if go check out Peter Schiff, his thoughts on that. Um, yeah, to your point, especially when the time comes of losing the world reserve currency, you're going to see a lot of the domestic stuff change in that manner. That's where the international stuff comes in.
Well, yeah, I mean, with a lot of the emerging markets, you know, I basically would just the problem is in our world today, the United States is still the Leroy Brown, right? Bad Leroy Brown, baddest dude in the whole damn town,
Leroy
still
Brown,
is.
baddest man in the whole downtown,
We got bad Leroy.
badder than a junkyard dog.
Leroy Brown, as
How's
I
it go?
told you, Dan, that's one of my characters in my
And
new
he's
book.
bad. Leroy Brown, the baddest man in the whole downtown, badder than old King
No,
Kong,
yeah, meaner than a junkyard dog.
meaner than a junkyard dog. What a song,
Yeah,
man.
where was Leroy Brown from? Quiz question.
Was it Detroit? I don't know.
No, the south side of Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah, definitely Chicago.
South side of Chicago.
Yeah. No, you're right. But
Yep,
it's about to look like a jigsaw puzzle.
with a couple of pieces gone.
Right?
What?
The
Yeah, with
Leroy Brown song?
the lyrics, I believe he looked like a jigsaw puzzle with a couple of pieces gone. Is I think the
Yep.
lyric. Well, none of us knows the future, but we've got to basically try to make decisions. I mean, it's very clear right now,
Can you hear this?
and you and what? No, no, you'd have to share it to come in. The point is it became very apparent over the years how the United States has been declining. But it really, when Biden put those sanctions on Russia, that's when it became undeniable. Undeniable. And then with Trump, I think it's taken another leg down. So who knows who's going to be next? Who's coming after Trump, Dan?
That is a damn good question. Look at JD Vance. I mean, did anybody ever hear him before he was announced? No. A lot of people think he was planted in as well. You never
Well, let
heard
me
of him.
well let me ask you a
Talk about
question.
coming out of the effing woodwork.
Well, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, the mistake that the Democrats made when Biden was in office, if
Bent
Joe
hard?
Biden if Joe Biden had stepped down and Kamala Harris had become president, I think she might have won the election.
Quite possibly. As much as of a retard she is, quite
Right.
possibly.
Yep. Because she would have been the incumbent. And I think that there's a chance that the powers that be that control things might look at that and say to Trump, with 3 months to go, either they kill him off or he gets impeached for something and Vance steps in like a year before the election.
Right. Right. So that to your point, he's got that incumbent advantage and momentum, if you will, heading into the election.
Well, look at the shitstorm that happened with Nixon. And it ended up becoming Ford. Ford is the only president who's never been elected for anything. He wasn't elected as vice president or president.
Where did he come out of?
He was the Speaker of the House.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say he wasn't VP that I knew of.
I'm not even sure if he
So,
was the Speaker of the House. He was basically brought in as vice president for Nixon, so that because it wasn't Nixon's term, he had Spiro Agnew, and then Spiro Agnew stepped down, and they put Ford in, and then when Nixon got the axe, Ford just happened to be there.
just happened to be there.
Well, what I'm saying is, don't be surprised if we have this jockeying going on in Trump's administration with all, because I mean, there's so much corruption going on. If somebody decides that they're going to hold somebody accountable, somebody could the
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, man. Hmm. Absolutely.
So I'm just looking at the comments now. There's too many here, but let's see. Amy says, David, is a person who has followed you for a time, you were losing it. That doesn't help me, Amy. You're not really explaining. I've talked about too many things. So you need to be more specific.
Wow.
And yep. The one thing I can guarantee is that the criminals are in complete control. That much there's no doubt in my mind. And the criminals are only going to do things to benefit for themselves, Dan. If you happen to get a benefit out of it, it's just the way the coin fell on the table. Had nothing to do with them looking out for you or me. Because the powers that be, they've been around a long time and they've controlled things for a long, long time.
Amen to that.
And so, I mean, that's why nothing, look at all the bad things that are going on in the country or the world. And that's why they're not going to be resolved. They're just going to spin them. They're not going to be resolved favorably for you or me. They're not, it's all about money, business, power, control, routes and resources, right? It's all it is. And if they can eliminate half of us, it won't impact them at all, as long as they maintain control. As Rothschild said, we don't care who makes the laws as long as we control the money. That's all it is, man.
Hmm.
How are they able to do what they do without God's blessing? Well, so Brian, I've said this 1,000 times. God allows the devil to rule the earth. God gave man free will and free choice. As long as you give 1 billion people free will, free choice, you're going to have chaos. Chaos.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
You're asking me?
Well, who else am I talking to?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he gives us free will and choice. And that's why we have the ability, I guess, if you want to put it that way,
Well,
to
no,
sin or not sin.
Brian said, how are they able to do what they do without God's blessing? Well, God's blessing, that God doesn't, God, that's the same. It's like when people say, why, if there was a God, he wouldn't allow this to happen. That's not true.
You don't know God's word then, with all due respect. And that's where I point people to the scriptures, right? God gives you choice, guys. Okay, you are sent. He made man in his own image, sentient being. You know, you have a soul and a spirit that's connected to him, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But he also gave you a brain, and he also gave you decision-making abilities. Think about it. If you were the grand creator, right? Hypothetically and comically, put yourself in his shoes. If you created something in your image, would you give it autonomy, or would you just make a bunch of robots? What would make more sense to you?
Well, today they want robots.
Yeah, he says he doesn't believe
Elon
in
Musk,
any of it. Doesn't believe in any of what? Be specific. What?
he doesn't believe. Yeah,
No, you're
he
not
doesn't.
supposed to thank God the way we interpret it. What I would say to you is don't listen to me. Don't listen to Dave. Refer back to the word. That's what I would say. And if you're living a life that's not congruent with the word, there's your answer. And that's where we've fallen
Yeah,
astray in this country.
yeah, and just because Elon Musk is the richest man in the world doesn't mean he's going to heaven.
100%.
And
100%.
like Dan and I talked about with Trump, Trump knows he's probably not going to heaven. He's telling people he's evil.
So you humor me for a minute, assuming there is a God and assuming there is a heaven and that Jesus does make a place for us in heaven. Um, this life is nothing but temporary, guys. You're 60 years here, 80 years here, 102 years here, or you're 48 years here. I mean, if we truly do have a spirit and are built in the image of God, and that there is a place where we go, um, this life is a stepping stone. If that, it's a passing. It's what it is.
Well,
Everybody interprets the word differently, so
yeah,
give me a break.
yeah,
Who's everybody?
right.
The
Well,
Bible is pretty literal.
I can justify killing all the people in Gaza
It's pretty
because
literal, my
the
friend.
Bible
If you
says I
take the
can.
time, if you take the time to read it, it is pretty literal. I hear that argument all the time. Oh, it's cryptic, it's highly interpretive. Not really. No, God's pretty hardcore. Particularly, I'll point you to Leviticus and Deuteronomy. You won't believe some of the stuff he says there, and he says it point blank, plain English. And we cited an example or two in a Revelation about being lukewarm. He even uses that word, lukewarm. I'll spit you out of my mouth. I mean, it can't get any more uh, plain English than that. But we choose to make excuses, in my opinion. I'm not saying you do, but man in general, to justify our means and to justify our, at times,
No,
sinful
well, I mean,
actions. We make
Jesus
excuses.
Christ, Jesus Christ and the apostles were telling people what they didn't want to hear, and so what did they do? They killed them.
Skimming off the top at the gambling table. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, I don't worry about any of it, Brian. I have a plan, and whether the plan works or not is yes is
Yeah,
I've been trading. I've been trading. I've been trading for 6 years
yeah,
actively,
no,
and
right.
I learned for myself that uh, I definitely take money off the table now, because one of the things that I just alluded to Dan is you're going to leave money on the table one way or the other, because none of us
Yeah,
are
the
going to pick
stock
the exact
market.
top of the bottom.
Yeah, he's calling trading gambling. Not if you approach it a certain way. No, it's not
Well,
gambling at all, actually.
there's always a
If
certain amount of unknown factors in life.
Absolutely, 100%. Nothing's 100% in this world. We all know that. Nothing's 100%, except that we're all going to drop dead. And if you live in the US, pay taxes. We know that. But that's about it. Yeah. You
But I
play the
try, yeah,
probabilities.
yeah. But
That's
I
what
can
a
tell
good
you right
trader
now,
does.
I can tell you right now, if I can take, if I have a certain position.
No, I don't feel like crap. I do what I
No,
think is
no,
best.
no. I mean, I've everything that I'm saying to Dan, I've done myself. I've made
Yeah.
every mistake you can possibly make. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
me
I'm
too.
perfect in any way.
Me too.
Listen,
I wish I
I
was
could I
perfect,
could
dude.
make a I could make a 24-hour marathon video on the mistakes in Dave's life, but I'm not
Oh,
going
yeah.
to, because
And I'd be standing right there, by the way.
so. But what I do try to
For
do
sure.
is I can tell you, and again, this is just my opinion, but I think it's pretty. Over the last couple of years, I have put in the time and the effort in increasing my skill level on trading, on different trading techniques.
Absolutely.
Whereas and Dan, I don't mean to throw you under the bus. I did this, and Dan didn't do this, and so I think that at this point I have an edge on certain skill levels, and so I'm just trying to share what I see with Dan. Now, Dan is not going to listen to me just because I say something, but um, but if I see something, when there's a friend or a family member, and I see something that I think that it's like being a watchman that Dan mentioned. I feel it's my responsibility to say, hey, this is what I see. What do you see? If they don't see it, the first rule
Jim
of thumb is
Croce.
free
Jim
will.
Croce, Amy.
Yeah, Jim Croce. He died in a plane crash in 1973, 4, 5.
Something or something. Yeah. He was pretty talented. Yeah.
All of those guys used to die in plane crashes back then.
It's so
So,
true.
yeah. So free will, free choice. That is the rule number one in Christianity.
Hmm.
God gives us free will, free choice. It is in the first book of the Bible, right?
Is it in the first book of the Bible? You mean Genesis?
I'm pretty sure that the woman taking the apple, that was free will, free choice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he told them what they could do, and they they had it made, had the whole garden. He just said, "Don't touch that one thing."
Yeah. And it's like with children, you don't tell them what not to do, because that's what they'll want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's man in a nutshell. We don't always do the right thing and what we're supposed to do, and
Yeah.
then
And with
that's the
Dan,
truth.
and you know, as far as family and friends, Brian, when you say you make somebody feel like shit, yeah, I mean, I can always improve my approach. But the bottom line is, if I see somebody driving 90 miles an hour towards a wall or into a train track, I'm not too worried about hurting their feelings. I'm worried about them recognizing that they're putting themselves at risk. Or, or a lot of times, what happens in this world is we get so busy with things in our lives, we're not even paying attention to half the shit we should be paying attention to. And so, having somebody give a friendly
Right.
reminder might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, no, there's truth to that too.
So that's what, and I told Dan this years ago, and that's pretty much how I try to approach things now. Is is I basically have a very small inner circle of people in my life, And those are the people I care about. And those are the people where I try to help them if I can.
Right.
And I don't worry about the United States. I don't worry about the world. I don't worry about the people in New Hampshire.
Live
Too
free or
much.
die.
Yeah, too overwhelming. Too overwhelming.
Don't tread on me. Oh, that's New Jersey. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's which is a joke when you consider New Jersey. It's like, yeah.
Does anybody move to New Jersey these days? I know they move from it. Nothing against New Jersey, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, the only people moving to New Jersey are the ones who can't afford living in New York City.
I know. What a bargain. I go from one massive screwing to slightly less. They feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Unfortunately, all we can do is just take it one day at a time, man.
That's it.
Un día a la vez, one day at a time.
Yeah.
Because
Wasn't that the Archie Bunker theme song? No.
I don't. Did they even have a theme song?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's right. Ba da 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 da.
All in the Family.
Da 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 da
Yeah.
da da. Those were the days.
Yeah.
Those
Those were the
were
days.
the days. Yeah, imagine that show on TV today. Listen, over the weekend, I watched this series
Cheat,
about
cheat.
Archie. Yeah, no, I saw this TV show about this doctor who had autism. Yeah, and
We had it made.
and I don't
Those were the days.
Yeah. The TV shows today are all politically correct.
All in the Family. You guys remember starring Gene Stapleton and Carol O'Connor? I used to watch that show when I was a kid. Their way.
Yeah. Okay, Dan.
Those were the days.
Is that how you want to wrap up the video? You singing all the days? So okay, we'll just do a couple financial. Oh, excuse me. Are you so? Do you think markets are going to go to rocket higher, or do you think we're going to get a correction in the next 2 to 3 weeks? Well, let's up, sideways, or down. We'll say that we'll say Bitcoin. Well, how do you want to classify it? Because there's too many markets. So we'll just say crypto, commodities, or we could say silver, gold, oil, maybe, and SPY, IWM, and triple Qs. So I'll start. I'll say I think
Yeah,
SPY.
I mean, you could say
We'll say at the end of February, first week of March, that range. I think the SPY, the Qs, I think they're all going to be down from where they are now. I think they're going to bounce a little bit, but then they'll come back down. I think silver and gold, I think that there's still another leg down on those in the next couple weeks. I think crypto, I think we'll do a temporary bounce like the markets. I think the markets are all of them are going to try to bounce, but I think it's going to be a head fake, and then they roll over. And I think we get another sizable correction by the end of February or the first. Yeah, I'm thinking end of February, maybe into the first week of March. We start getting a sizable correction on everything. So that's why I'm basically looking to sell options at this point, selling calls, and because if things go down, then you make the premium. Dow 60 grand by the end of February. Maybe. I don't see that. Absolutely not. Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, inflation, I mean, you can look at Nigeria. It's going to be one of these things where I think
The Dow at 60,000. Wow. Yeah, I could see it maybe breaking 50.
It already did break 50. It already
Well,
did.
barely, right? Yeah, barely, but like in a sustained fashion, maybe.
Yeah,
You know what I
well,
mean?
I mean, you can look at, I mean, going back to Weimar, and then there's many countries, Venezuela,
Mm,
most recently, Argentina,
mm.
where the stock markets are booming, but you wouldn't want to be living in those countries.
No, that's true.
And that, sure. So, yeah, what grade is Dow 600,000? Not 60, but 600,000 Dow when 90% of the people can't even buy bread.
Yeah, when the average stiff, with all due respect, it's grinding it out at 21.50 an hour and exactly trying to buy Wonder Bread
Because
and
let's
put
face
gas
it,
in it.
I mean, I don't know the numbers, but Dan, you were telling me last year, I think it was you who was telling me, or maybe I told you, where the number
Mm.
of people who were draining their 401k, their retirement plans to survive. It was
Yes.
like the numbers, it was like 50% of the people who had retirement
Yeah.
plans were draining them.
Yeah. I think I told you that. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Because, a lot of people have been getting laid off, particularly in their 50s and stuff. And then the AI, the tech companies are laying people off left and right, even young people now. And people are having to do the gig economy garbage, which is a joke. Let's go drive Uber now, yeah, for 55 hours a week to make 1,200 bucks. That's our economy. And, they're always boasting the jobs created every month. Oh, we created 180,000 jobs this month. And I say this all the time, but they don't tell you that, yeah, the bulk of them are like 17 bucks an hour. That's why everybody has three side hustles now, which is code for part-time jobs to pay the electric bill. That's our
Yeah,
economy.
yeah. I haven't been in the U.S. in 4 years for an extended period of time, but the last two times I've been back, there's a lot of hurting people.
Money doesn't move into every sector at once. Yeah, we were aware of that. It's not like the ocean hitting the shores like a tsunami all at once. We understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
We've talked about money.
wow. I
We've
guess
talked
we
about.
are lead heads.
I know we've talked about money rotation for years.
A long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what
In
aiming is,
fact,
but
I even put
you
a
guys
trade.
should read Joan of Arc by Mark Twain. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Uh, I just put. I mean, I don't put many trades on here anymore, but I put a pretty good one on here just a couple months ago on natural gas.
Mhm.
I think I nailed that rotation pretty well. There's another one I was telling Dan to get into, but he had a skirt on that day.
Probably.
Yeah. Natural gas. I don't know. See, what I don't do, as far as natural gas, I'm waiting for it to come down a little bit lower before I get back into it. I've already exited all my positions, made a good return. I'm not holding natural gas. It's another speculation. If I can make money on it, uh, yeah, no, I don't even know what Dorchester Minerals does. Hey, El Nino, how you doing, buddy? I hope everything's good. So I've sent you some messages, amigo. So don't know if you got them, but I hope everything's going all okay in London. The crazy man in London. I would have been out of London years ago. I mean, it's a pretty place to visit, nice to visit, but with that government, forget about it. Insane. Well, anything, Dan? I mean,
Chester Minerals.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't even know.
Hi,
I told
guys.
him
Good to see you again. Oh, that's nice.
I don't know what Dorchester Minerals does. I'd have to look at the chart. Here, I'll call it up right now. I assume they're involved in something to do with natural gas, since he was talking about natural gas.
Oh, gotcha. I thought it was an inside joke for a minute.
DMLP. Well, it's in a cup and handle. It's in a cup right now, and it's forming a handle. So if it breaks, if Dorchester Minerals breaks above 26.32, let me just see. Yeah, if Dorchester Minerals, which is symbol DMLP, gets above 26.32, typically what will happen, nothing's 100%, but when I see these charts, what will have happen is it will break above, and it will come back and it will retest that 26. So I would wait for it to break out, and when it pulls back to 26, that would be your time to go long. And if it fails, then you have to cut. You have to cut. Dividends, yeah, I don't know what the dividend is on that, so you can say, I have never been a mistake. What does that mean?
I think she meant to say I've never made a mistake, probably.
Well, El Nino, I don't want to say anything online, so because I don't know what you share in confidence. So we can have a conversation on WhatsApp when you get a chance, and you can fill me in. Well, we had a correction, El Nino. Yeah, I think silver. I don't have the chart in front of me, but I think silver is going to work its way back down to $50 where it broke out, and gold, whatever the equivalent of gold is at that time, I think gold will come back as well. But if I buy any silver going forward, I think, yeah, that's a nice return. 11.5%. Yeah. That's it. That's one heck of a dividend. The only problem with dividends is they could come out in the next earnings report and say they're cutting their dividend to zero. That's the only problem with dividends. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a crazy world. So, Dan, you're reading something instead of talking, so you're supposed to take the lead.
No, I was just listening, and I was looking something up real quick, but yeah. Plane crashes back then. Oh, my God. Okay, yeah.
Well, think about it. I mean, remember Don McLean's American Pie, right? That's about Richie Valens and Buddy Holly dying. And then, boy, so many musicians died in plane crashes back then because they'd do these puddle jumps.
Right.
Wasn't exactly regulated or safe back then.
Yeah. But anyway, so Dave, yeah, so we've been 2 hours now, but yeah, I was thinking maybe once a week, pick up with the where we sort of left off in the past, maybe an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, we can definitely listen. I mean, I try. What I do is I read. Right now, I read 4 different books of the Bible simultaneously, and I read one chapter from each book every day. And when I finish that chapter, I go to the next chapter. So I always have 4 different books going because they're not all read at the same time. And that's my way. That's my way to get through the Bible. So what I think would be pretty cool. You mentioned 2 books that you said are pretty straightforward: Leviticus and Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy. They're hardcore. They're Old Testament.
Why don't we start with those?
Absolutely. Those are hard hitting. Hard hitting.
Well, yeah. And I'll just put a plug into my first book, Agua Sangre. Is I put at the end of every chapter, I put verses from the Bible that I think are worth remembering. As it's my way to hopefully, something sparks, something triggers an interest in somebody where they go to the Bible and they read the Bible. Because I think that's the only way we get anything out of the Bible is if we open it up and we read it.
Takes time and some effort. Absolutely.
And the other thing is I try, it's tough to get out of the rat race completely. It really is, because that's how we're raised in the United States. We're born on a treadmill.
100%.
And most people don't even know they're on it, or they think that's the way it always is. We have a choice.
100%.
We have a choice. And for those people who aren't happy with their lives, I'd say look at the choices you're making, because we do have control over certain decisions. Again, free will, free choice.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the plan. Maybe every Sunday night. Maybe.
Yeah, that's fine.
Something like that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, we can plan on it. Choose one of those books, whichever one you want. And
if we're going to start with the Gospels, start with Matthew, I guess, right?
No, we just talked. We talked with Leviticus or Deuteronomy.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yep. My bad. Yeah. I will absolutely have a choice for us before then. Definitely.
Yeah, because those are 2 books I have. Those are 2 books I have not read yet. Because to be quite honest with you, a lot of the Old Testament, it gets into really some dry stuff when I've read it. I just was reading. I'd have to go back and look, but it's like talking about the dimensions of the temple, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I was like, I don't care.
Dimensions of the ark. Oh yeah. But it gets well into that. Beyond that, I assure you.
Yeah, and so we'll see. But I stopped making other videos, so I did a couple videos on my Mexican adventures, and I'll put a couple more up as I have time to post them. And there's no perfection in this world, that's for sure. So I saw a comment of yours, Amy, asking about Mexico. I don't look as Mexico as a salvation. I've said it for many, many years. Anybody who's listened to any of my videos, I came to Mexico because the weather down here is a heck of a lot better than the weather in New Hampshire. And when I got to the point where I was ready to retire, then I said, what's the most important thing to me? And for me, number 1 on my list is good weather. I have to get outside every day and walk and enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the weather, because that affects my psyche. And I was tired of cold weather, snow. I mean, the weather in New England is just garbage in general now. Just garbage. I think they've got 2 good months a year, weather-wise. So, but Mexico is definitely not a panacea. There's, but I don't come down here thinking of it as a panacea. So yeah, I may bitch about something in a video, but it's just a vent. I talk about it in the video because I meet so many people coming down here where they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be paradise." I'm like, you're a fool if you think it's gonna be a paradise. It's a completely different culture. Yeah, you're a stranger in a strange land. You'll never be accepted as an equal in this country or any other country. I mean, whether I went to China, Thailand, Philippines, Spain, Portugal, Mexico, Costa Rica, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, you're gonna be Gringo Dave, Gringo Dan, and that's it. You're never gonna be.
Absolutely.
You're never gonna be one of them.
Yeah, you're
So,
right. Spot on with that, I think.
yeah, El Nino, I don't need to tell you what I've told you, so you know. But as we talked about, we all have free choice, free will, and and that's okay, because what I choose to do with my life, my friends and family may think I'm insane, and that's okay, because I'm making decisions that I have put, you know, the decision on coming to Mexico. Yeah, it
Mhm.
definitely was. Yeah, it was a good decision overall. But if I had come down here expecting certain things, then I would have been disappointed. So if I just focus on the day at hand and I try to maximize today, I mean, that really is what it comes down for me. What I've learned is is people who think that they have control over what happens next week, it's delusional, because you don't. Because you might get hit by a bus tomorrow and it won't matter.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yep. And
spot on.
one of the things I have struggled with recently is, like, in writing this second and third book, it taking, like, sacrificing today to write about a book that, it's, I mean, I'm never going to make, realistically, I'm never going to make money on my books. So it's kind of like, okay, if I take 3, 4, 5 hours in a day and I spend writing, yeah, I mean, there's an objective there. Gonzalo Lira, I had this discussion with him. And Gonzalo Lira is like, well, what else are you going to do with your time? There's lots of things I could do with my time other than sitting down and writing a book.
True.
Yep.
You could be watching the sunset, having a nice Mai Tai.
Yeah. And there's a perfect example. Gonzalo Lira, he was a very smart man who made some very critical, bad decisions at a critical
Oh,
time.
yeah. Oh, yeah. God bless him.
And
Yeah.
he did not, and this is a lesson for all of us, he did not take the evil seriously when evil was staring him right in the face.
Yeah.
He did not, he was like these Jews you hear about in Germany where they didn't believe they were in any danger. Again, free will,
Yeah.
free choice. And if there's one thing that, Dan, well, let's end on this. Whether you listen to Gerald Celente or somebody mentioned Jim Willian here, or certain other
Yeah.
people, even going back to Bill Cooper, all of them sound
Mhm.
crazy at some point on certain things they say. But that's the
Yeah.
thing. When you start projecting outwardly, some of the things, you're not going to get everything right. But the bottom line is, today compared to 10 years ago, I think that we can agree that there's a lot of conspiracy theories that are now conspiracy facts. And so don't be so quick to discount
And criticize. Yeah.
things as being crazy, because the one thing that is for sure is our government is not working for our benefit. And
No doubt about that, bro. I
and
think
so
everybody on this thing would agree with that. I
I
mean,
don't
it's
think so.
blatantly obvious.
Well, I don't think so, because people still think voting
Really?
makes a difference. people still think voting makes a
Yeah, no,
difference.
I used to think that too, but that the game plan is already mapped out and preconceived ahead of time. They already know probably the who the next four presidents or three presidents are going to be.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, you've seen that these videos where they say all but one of the presidents are related.
No, I haven't seen that
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah. Look, Google it, search it online. You search it on YouTube. And the other thing, Mark Twain, I think it was Mark Twain who said if voting made a difference, it would, they wouldn't let us do it.
Good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I used to, Greg Manarino has some great information. Greg is really, nobody gives the guy enough credit. And same thing with Gerald Celente in terms of
Yeah.
how much effort does it take to create a channel, to create a community, and then maintain it? That's the hard thing. Those guys are out doing videos every day, every week. And yeah, obviously they're making money, but still, to have that type of commitment to do it day in and day out, God bless them. God bless them. It's a calling at that point. It's a calling. And what Candace Owens is doing, there's a lot of people who think she's a nut job. I think whether she is or not, she is inspired to get to the bottom of. She's going to uncover. Keep an eye on Candace Owens. If she's not killed, she's going to uncover some really terrifying things about our government. Terrifying that I already think I know. And she's gonna come up with facts. So I don't think they're gonna. I don't see how they can keep her alive. I just don't see.
Really? That's
Oh yeah,
scary.
yeah. Oh well, the same thing with Julian Assange. We've talked about this before. They either try to discredit you with some scandal, or they have a sex crime like they did with the Julian Assange. They try to buy you off in some way. They bring you on their team, like they were trying to do with Charlie Kirk, supposedly. And if those things don't work, if they can't discredit you, if they can't buy you off, okay, they kill your dog to try to get a message, or they'll kill your daughter's boyfriend to get a message, or your aunt to send a signal. And if none of that
Yeah.
stuff works, then they'll kill you. That's what history shows us. So Candace Owens.
They
So
don't mess
Candace
around.
Owens, I mean, if she stays independent and committed to her journey, if she truly is the honorable person on a mission for justice using her Christian faith, if she is legit, she is a dangerous weapon, that woman. And evil is not going to evil will
Take
definitely
it
come out.
lightly.
No, evil. I mean, like evil won't give a shit about Dan and me because we're nobody. Like nobody's gonna. I mean, we're not uncovering, but Candace Owen and a few other people who are doing what she's doing. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
we might be nobody, but at least we're handsome.
Well, used to be, anyways. Hey, well, everybody,
Illusions of grandeur.
peace.
Peace out.
God bless, and
We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Thank you for listening and commenting. Sorry, it's trying to these screens are so small that YouTube gives you. So if anybody wants to come on next time, then I usually give that option if people want to come on. If somebody wants to come on and join Dan and I, then just email us. Let us know, and we'll try to set it up ahead of time. Okay.
We'll be having some guests in the future, though. I'm going to try to set that up.
Well, tomorrow, do you happen to have tomorrow off? Probably not.
Of course I don't.
I have tomorrow off.
Of course you do.
So I think I'm gonna
it's
take
America.
I'm gonna take an event. Yeah, it's funny. I'm in Mexico and I get the day off.
Digo, Viva la México!
Viva el presidente!
Ándale, ándale. La
No,
comida, por favor.
yeah. Well, I guess in the United States it's El Presidente. Down here it's La Presidenta. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna do an adventure tomorrow. I think I'll tell you about it later.
Presidente in Spanish. It's presidente in Portuguese. Presidente.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But hey,
Okay. Well, hopefully we were more than just entertaining tonight. Hopefully we gave some nuggets of information that are helpful to people.
hopefully we were more than just pretty faces to look at.
Right. Well, Dan's not wearing any pants. Yeah.
You're right. I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah. He's wearing his
You
chaps.
asked.
He's wearing his cherry red chaps.
Oh, behave.
God, so disgusting. Yep.
Do I make you horny? No, I'm sorry. We'll take that
Yeah.
back. But anyway.
Well, yep. So, all right, pal.
All right,
Have a good
guys.
night. Good
Peace,
talking to you.
Peace out. All
Take
right.
care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Goodbye.